Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Alonso Duralde, William Bibbiani, episode 310, and the woman clothed in sun. Explain why this is so close to last week's episode title.
William Blake's Great Red Dragon paintings have a variety of different names. It's the Great Red Dragon and blank. There was the Great Red Dragon and the woman clothed with the sun. And then there's the Great Red Dragon and the woman clothed in sun. They're kind of the same scene, but from different perspectives. In is from behind. It's where we get Dollarhide's great back tattoo. And with the is where we get that great shot of Rutina Wesley from this episode looking all beautiful and flamey. But there are others as well.
Which is the one he eats?
That would be the woman clothed in sun. I think that's why that's this episode. And if you get it wrong, and even if I get it wrong, do not feel bad. Thomas Harris couldn't keep it straight. In the original Red Dragon novel, he used one name and then described the other painting. Oops. So it's not the biggest deal in the world, although it will make it really hard to identify this episode by title in the future. So
thanks for that.
Thanks. Good job. But then there's also references. Another one of the Great Red Dragon paintings in this episode. The number of the beast is 666. Is another one of William Blake's Red Dragon paintings, and that is where they directly lifted that great shot at the opening of Hannibal looking upon the Red Dragon and seeing him going. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you knew all that.
I looked it up.
Well done. Thanks, Wikipedia.
Well, they're so close, and you have to be careful.
Okay, well then now I have to throw in my art moment here. I have actually seen Hieronymus Bosch's The Garden of Earthly Delights at the Prado in Madrid, and it's really amazing close up because every little bit of that painting is something gross and horrifying and fascinating.
Where do you see that in the?
Oh, sorry, it's the giant painting behind Bedelia when she's giving her art lecture because she's an art lecturer now.
I think she was giving a presentation about her victimization at the hands of Hannibal, and she was gussying it up a lot.
Oh, okay, maybe so.
I have to check for sure, but I'm pretty sure they took some of the dialogue from that presentation about Dante and the mouth of hell from a presentation Hannibal gave back when he was Dr. Fell.
Right.
So in
the show or
in the novel? In the novel or maybe one of the movies. But she is enjoying this.
Oh.
What a bitch. Not only is she just a horrible person, but she also has really small hands because she just got all up into Zachary Quinto's chest cavity.
Yeah, what the fuck was that about? I thought she was going to get all Temple of Doom and pull out his heart and it was going to be on fire or something.
Well, she just had that speech about how when you see Baby Bird, your thing is to help, but mighty is to crush it. So here's this thing: she was trying to help him, and then he's just so weak that she couldn't help herself, and just I must destroy. She is my theory, and I don't know if this is true or not. My theory is that the end of the series will end with Bedelia getting eaten, but it'll be like the end of Silence of the Lambs, where Hannibal escapes or something, and he's just I'm having an old friend for dinner, and that'll end up being Bedelia instead of what's his name?
Yeah, or they'll do it Cook the Thief, where she comes out in a glaze with an almondine sauce or whatever. I don't know.
Right. I kind of, she's like the only, more than Hannibal, she's the person I want to get her just desserts. She offends
As
me.
it were.
Well, there's that line that Zachary Quinto has because we have that great flashback to see finally what happened with this murder. And he even just says, see, this is why Scientologists hate psychology. And
Psychiatry.
Psychiatry. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I bet Scientologists would watch this show and go, yeah, this
That's true. I can actually see this when the psychiatry and industry of death or whatever, that museum they have on Sunset Boulevard
has a Hannibal exhibit.
Exactly. The highlights of this program.
Yeah, and I'm like
running in the gift shop.
I'm not gonna lie, I firmly believe in the healing powers of psychiatry.
No, absolutely.
And so I'm just she pisses me off because at least Hannibal's honest about it.
Right.
At least Hannibal's just you should kill a guy. Why not? It would be very therapeutic.
Now I have to say this. I defer to you in all things sort of Thomas Harris, but this episode does recreate one of my very favorite moments from from Manhunter, the Hannibal on the phone. Just dial your finger down to the G and and I have to say Brian Cox still has my heart on that one. Just the way the sort of fake folksy voice that he puts on the phone just kills me every time.
Yeah, no, he puts on a real act in Manhunter, and it's so lovable. Like you just like, of course I'll do it. When Hannibal says like, I'll dance at your wedding, a part of you was just like, I will look him up if you promise not to dance at my
please
wedding.
don't.
Yeah, that's kind of my rule on that. The scene in this one that honestly I feel like I get more on this show than I ever have before in either the books or either of the movie adaptations was the scene with Reba and the tiger.
That was gorgeous.
Oh my God, it was so beautiful.
That's one of the most beautiful things. Just that sequence was one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen on network television. It was just the color, the way they really kind of amped up the tiger orange, and just her hands. Oh yeah, that was
and by
gorgeous.
amping up the tiger orange and really selling the color of it. See, the idea I think that most of the other adaptations have had, or at least that seems to be pervasive in them, is that this is for Reba. She's blind. She had like a speech about how she thought she'd seen a tiger. We kind of cut that out for some reason. I don't know why. But like, and then she just got to feel it, and it was this kind of weird Tinder moment where you take your picture with the tiger or something like that. But there was also something kind of alluring about it. He like cups the tiger's testicles for some reason. It's weird and kinky. But here, not only are we seeing Dollarhide actually being very eloquent, and she even talks about it, but the coloring on it just makes it look like she's touching a great red dragon as far as Francis Dollarhide is concerned. That's why he is so eloquent right now. That's why he is so worshiping this moment, is because to him, this is her touching the monster inside of him, and it was gorgeous.
Yes.
It was so great.
And what's interesting is that so many times in this kind of scenario, you'll get the killer and then the sort of, the innocent woman who may or may not like have a crush on him or whatever. And you always think, oh, if only they would find love, he wouldn't have to go kill people. And here it's like, no, they could still like fall in love and have sex, and he's still going to go kill people.
Well, it's an interesting question, and I feel like you really get the sense of this in Manhunter, the idea that Dollarhide was a massive introvert, a shut-in. Again, he's probably never been in anyone's house before. We might have just seen him lose his virginity on this show, despite his age. But he probably wouldn't be capable of even being in as healthy relationship as he has with Reba, however that is, if he hadn't killed all those people. That gave him strength. He felt like he was becoming something that was worthy of affection and adoration and love.
True.
And I think that, for me, is the great irony here, is that this horrible experience that if she survives, we know what happens to her in the books, but who knows if it's going to happen in the movie, in the show. If she survives this, she's going to feel really bad about this whole thing. This is going to be really weird.
She'll be, guarded in any future, potential relationships, to say the least.
Yeah.
So then we have all the museum hijinks.
It's a weird scene, isn't it?
A little bit.
There's something very perverse about it. The idea of
communing with the art by consuming it.
Well, and not only that, but the idea of consuming a great classic work of art. There's something about, like, a lot of horror stories are very isolated.
Sure.
Like it happens to this family, it happens in these woods. Oh, it didn't happen to me. It doesn't really have any impact outside of the rest of the world. We can sort of isolate and pretend it's just a story. In The Red Dragon, he destroys something very public. There's something very unescapable about it, and that's something really gross in a good way.
But there's been an ongoing thing on this show about what eating something or someone means.
It's a fair point.
The whole thing about Hannibal deciding I have to eat Will,
right.
and whether or not Bedelia is going to wind up on a plate. I mean, so the ongoing scenario kind of equates the eating of something else with it can be acquisition, it can be conquest. Right. But it can also be that sort of ancient thing of like, if I eat my enemy's, brains, I gain his knowledge or whatever.
Well, it's kind of interesting because this happens way earlier in the show than it did like in the book. And in the book, it's kind of similar, but basically Francis Dollarhide very clearly wants to destroy the Red Dragon. The Red Dragon is telling him, Reba is in your way. She's preventing your great becoming, and he wants Reba now. He thinks that that's healthier, and of course it is. So his idea is he will eat the Red Dragon and he will destroy the Red Dragon. But then, of course, he just ends up bringing the Red Dragon further inside of him. Here, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's where they're going at or if this is just an element of his further becoming. If this is a matter of transubstantiation or something different, I don't know. But it was interesting, and I did like that throwing Will in right there, just having him throw Will up against the elevator like a monster was just it was neat.
Well, we knew it was gonna like slap cuffs on him or anything. So
Well, it is interesting because we have like 3 episodes to go, and you just get the sense of, so was Will going to talk to a sketch artist? Like, it's got to be easier to catch him now that we know exactly what he looks like, right?
True.
Are there not security cameras? I buy that maybe in like the early 80s.
Oh yeah,
when this
that's
book
true.
was written, that might have been less of a factor, or there might have been at least fewer.
Especially in the fancy room with all the things we don't put out on the floor.
Yeah, exactly. So one would imagine this hopefully would be as simple as, and here's a picture of the killer. If you've seen him or work with him or developed film with him, well, just let us know.
If you've touched a tiger in his presence,
right,
and that's call the authorities.
And that's the sort of thing. Like, it is the sort of thing. I think Hannibal's done a decent job of adapting elements of that. Like in the original story, Dollarhide communicated with Lecter via snail mail, actual writing things down. He wrote it on toilet papers or whatever. Here, he's just found a way to hack into the phone.
Right.
It's much more cinematic. It works a lot better.
Yes. The gum wrapper, which I bet doesn't work at home, but what the hell? We'll buy it.
I remember in war games, and like Matthew Broderick hacked a telephone by taking like a soda top and just hitting it in the same thing. So I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. If that works,
are you saying the movies lie to us?
Movies have never lied to us, not once ever. No.
But just remember, kids, don't eat great art. All right, we'll see you next week.
See ya.